Okay, we are live. I am so excited. Hello, everyone. This is the special episode because it is the month of Pride, and I have two amazing LGBTQ experts. Dating, matchmaking, and Darla, you do a lot of different things as well, but you had an interesting story. So thank you both for being here. And we're going to spend the next hour in juicy conversation. And let me just start by introducing Amari. Amari, hi.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm great. Tell everybody where you're actually streaming in from. I am the host. I'm in Toronto for those who don't know. And if you're tuning in, and please feel free to ask questions. These two are amazing experts that you can ask your questions to about anything LGBTQ related and dating and business. So, Amari, please tell everybody where you're from and what you do.
Sure. So I'm originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. I currently live in the outskirts of DC in the suburbs, and I am a gay matchmaker and relationship coach and soon to be hypnotherapist in just a few weeks.
Woohoo! Are you going to practice on us during this session?
Of course. If you want, we could totally do that. That would be
awesome. Maybe we'll even invite someone to do that with. That'd be amazing.
Yeah.
All right, Darla, tell everybody where you are streaming in from and more about what you do.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Darla LeDoux. I live in Austin, Texas. Just recently, I grew up in northern Minnesota in a small town of 500, which may come up in our storytelling today. And I work with entrepreneurs to run their business in alignment with their soul's guidance. I've been doing that in transformational retreats for the last 10 years. And now we're kind of on a hiatus for retreat. But I love teaching people how to transform and work with their clients on retreat to totally change their lives. On retreat. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I love that. I guess my first question, which has been, I have so many questions, but, and I'll go one at a time. How has the pandemic changed your business? What have you done to pivot? Are you busier? Are you in, are you in head down working, or are you exploding? Let's start with you, Amari.
Sure. So I work with Black gay men all around the country. And when I started my company 3 years ago, it was already pretty much virtual. So most of the coaching I do with clients is going to be virtual. Matchmaking, we do that digitally, virtually, and in addition to a few retreats. That's for sure stopped in the midst of all of this. So most of what's been happening is just the norm, coaching, matchmaking, and we've paused retreats until outside opens back up and the Rona store closes. So yeah, once that handles, we'll start doing retreats again. My singles retreats are pretty well attended. We go to Mexico or other different beaches around the world for about 5 days. The retreat is pretty awesome. Everybody wants to go. And shout out to Darla, because I actually learned a lot about retreats from her. Watching
amazing.
So
woo-hoo.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so in quarantine, like, things have actually gotten busier, surprisingly. I think a lot of people recognize that this has been an awesome time to really invest in themselves. And they've had more time now than pretty much ever before to do things that they've been putting off or hadn't really had the time to do. So lots of guys are coming in saying, hey, can you help me level up my love life and develop those relationship skills? Because I know that that's the thing I need to really help me take my relationships to the next level and find love that's going to last. So yeah,
that's amazing.
Lot of changes, but mostly the same, lot busier. Yeah. So that's
great. Darla, how have you pivoted, especially you being in the retreat business?
Yeah, for the last 5 years, I've been running Facebook ads to a book or a course about how to integrate live retreats into your business. So you might imagine those ads are not super popular right now. We've cut those down.
Well, you're saving money in that sense, right?
That has been interesting, actually, to really look at the expenses. it's always worth it, because when you can get people in a room live, they're more invested in their transformation and they're more apt to do work and follow up, right, and continue to work with you. But for me, I don't really think of it as a pivot necessarily, but I've turned a lot of my retreats virtual. And then it really has given me space to talk more about my new messaging. I've shifted branding to speaking about really leading with source. And so a story about that, I got so intuitively to make my March retreat virtual. You know, I always plan my programs with guidance, and I kept getting, make it virtual. Don't do this live. And I didn't have any reason for it. It was planned, you know.
And this was pre-pandemic, correct?
Pre-pandemic.
Okay.
It was like intuitively, hey, let's make this one virtual and the other two live. So I do have a live one coming up, but it's like so beautiful how when we really honor our knowing, we can save time and money, because I would have had to make all those changes, and it just totally saved me. And, you know, business has been great. I've been busy. I've been busier than ever.
That's amazing. So I really want to get down to the type, both of you, the people that you serve. Let's start with you this time, Darla. What are the types of clients you work with? So for people who are watching that might like to work with you, or have someone to refer, who are your people? Who are the people that you serve?
Thank you. I work with entrepreneurs. 95% of our clients are women who have either capped out their one-on-one coaching and they want to really leverage their time and energy and work with groups, as well as people who have been selling information online and they've been getting that nudge to offer more transformation, to bring more of the spirituality into the way they work, to trust their divine guidance, and allow that to transform the way they do business. In other words, they've gotten kind of bored just selling information on the internet.
Okay. And Amari, you pinpointed earlier to who you specialize in, but is there a deeper niche to the Black men that you serve?
Sure. So most of my clients are going to be professionals. The average age range of my clients is between 35 and 55.
Okay.
So I guess the average client is about 40.
Okay.
So successful, achievement oriented, grounded, commitment oriented catches, right? Like very, very, very handsome, very successful, very much into relationships. And so these are going to be guys who have been either never been in a relationship before, or they've been in relationships and they just can't figure out how to get into another one successfully or whatever and what have you. And they recognize that, the number one reason anybody is single is because they're trying to have a level 25 relationship with level 3 skills. And so they're really,
I love that.
really clear that they want to level up their relationship skills. So those are my average clients. Yeah.
Amazing. Now, I want to hear about success. We are constantly hearing about failure and struggle and all of the crazy things that are going on in the world. So I want to hear about your best matchmaking story, Amari. And then for Darla, I'd love to hear about a client success story. And it could be matchmaking too, or relationship oriented. So go ahead. I'd love to hear a great story right now.
Okay. So I'll tell the recent story. So this is actually a coaching client of mine, right? So all of the data shows that you're going to be 300% more likely to find love successfully if you've gone through coaching first. So whether you do it on your own or with a matchmaker, if you get relationship coaching as a single person to develop those skills, your chances of success increase 300%, which is ridiculous.
All right. Where did you get that stat? And why is everybody not having a coach, people?
Yes.
That is insane.
I think it's the lunch.
That's going on my website right now. It's going on my website right now.
So it's a new stat. I love to stay up on industry trends and such. So very fresh study just came out within the last few months. I think it was like the end of last year, actually.
Okay.
I learned about it when we were in London. So so you're going to be much more likely to find love if you've had coaching first. And so I worked with the client. And he just celebrated his 1-year anniversary in April. And I just found out Friday night that they're engaged now. So that's like really exciting.
Yay.
And this is a client who, did all the work, was totally committed to the process. And it wasn't that long after the coaching situation that he got into the relationship in the first place. So it happened relatively quickly. And then a year in, they're now engaged, which is pretty awesome. So
that's amazing. And just before I go over to Darla, quickly, without revealing the client, obviously, what was the pivot or tweak that was necessary from him to go from where he was at to now being engaged? And congratulations on that. Was there a specific area, one thing, or was it a number of things?
A number of them. I think the thing to wrap it up, the bow, is it's really the skills. So our culture teaches us to be really great employees, right? We invest so much time, energy, and money into our professional skills, right? And even once we get a job, we're still taking continuing education credits. We're continually sharpening those professional skills. But we don't invest the same way in our relationships. Like if you compare the amount of time, money, and energy you invest in your profession versus your relationship skills, for most people it's like this. And so you can clearly see just on that quick guesstimate why for most people your career is going to be better than your relationships. And so unless you invest in those skills, that's going to likely be true. So he was very clear on that. And he was like, oh, I'm definitely going to go the distance and invest in myself so I can get the return on that investment in the form of an engagement. So.
Well, there you go. That's amazing. Yeah. All right, Darla, let's hear a success story.
I love that story, Amari. For me, I'm not a matchmaker. So first of all, I'm also not a gay dating expert. I just have an amazing story for myself of my own dating experience. But I do have a matchmaking story. I've been to a client's wedding, so it was pretty amazing. I had a friend call me out of the blue who was someone who I had been in mastermind with and met in a business context. And he had just broken up with his partner, who happened to be also his business partner. So they had dissolved their, and he tells this story, so I have permission to tell it. They had dissolved their business and their relationship, and he was single, and he felt like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have any money. I don't have a partner. I don't know where I'm living. I'm not sure what to do. And he'd actually called me for a job. He said, of everyone I know who coaches, like, I believe in you, your integrity. Could I do sales for you? And because he teaches sales and I teach sales. And so we're on this call and it's really awkward. And I'm going to go back to, again, that divine knowing. My intuition said, actually, he just needs to come on retreat with me. I was leading up to a retreat in Italy. And I just kept getting, no, he needs to come on retreat. He needs to come on retreat. And he was in zero possibility of the idea of going on retreat. And I was really nervous because, when you're talking to a colleague and you're thinking, well, they already know everything I teach. They've already got it together. Can I offer this to him? But I said, you have to come on retreat with me. And he had all the reasons, right? And he's a sales coach, so he's hearing himself give all the reasons. And I just stood for him. And I really knew, I said, what would you say to a client if they were saying this? And he sorted it out and he came on retreat in Italy, which, again, Amari, to your point, is a big investment to get coaching and get the type of deep transformational support. And in Italy, he walks into the retreat and shakes hand with one of the other participants. And my wife and I were there, in the lobby when they met. And we looked at each other and we were like, whoa, we could feel the fireworks in this exchange. And she has her own story of transformation to leave the relationship she was in to get together with him. But they're married. They got married in Italy at this same venue that we had retreat at. So we went to the wedding. It was really amazing. And
that is great.
So for him, he had to, in that process, because you had asked, like, what had to change? He had to let go of all the stories that he had about himself that old relationship kept in place. It was like when they met, he was feeling kind of bad about himself, and he felt like she made him better, right? And then when they broke up, he felt back to that old place, and he had to get back in the place where he was feeling amazing about himself. Like he had a super successful business, amazing human being.
That's amazing. That's great. And I'm going to get to your story. I thought you were going to tell that one, but we will tell that story soon.
Client story.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. That's amazing. So on the note of compatibility and partner preferences, because we're on that, I know that Amari has created his own test. I don't know what it is. I wanted to wait to be on this platform to talk about it. So I'm hearing it for the first time. Please share with me what the Love Alchemy test is. Am I saying that correctly? Alchemy or Alchemy?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So there are 5 crucial components of compatibility, right? And I use the acronym MATCH. So I'll teach you this now. You can totally It's in my second book, so it's copywritten. So feel free to use it. But M is
I will quote it back to you. Okay. All right.
Very good. So M is mission and values. Like you have to have compatible values or your relationship isn't going to go the distance, right? Your values tell you where you're growing toward. And if you don't have compatible values, you're going to grow apart. A is attraction. You have to be attracted to your partner. If you get along and you're not attracted, you're just friends. T is temperamental synergy. Okay. And that is all about your personality compatibility. Do you get along? Do you have that energetic resonance with another person? And that's where the Love Alchemy test comes into play. And I'll just tell you the other 2 and then explain the test. So C is the capacity to meet your needs. All of us have certain qualities, mental, spiritual, emotional qualities that we need a partner to have the capacity to fulfill. And if you don't have the capacity now, you're not likely to have the capacity in the future. So a lot of people will try to, or will fall for potential and try to develop that potential in a partner. But if he doesn't have the capacity now, he likely isn't going to develop that capacity in the future. And then H is hazard free, which simply means no deal breakers, right? The person can't have any of your deal breakers because deal breaker means no deal. So the Love Alchemy test is to help you understand what type of personality you're going to be most compatible with. And so there are 4 love elements that tell you what the dominant mode of your personality is. And we all are made of all 4. One is going to be primary, and then you're going to have a secondary that really rounds us off. So the elements are air, fire, water, and earth, because alchemy is really about transforming matter from one form to another. And love alchemy is specifically about transforming your love life from jaded, frustrated, and single into a competent, confident love magnet. That's what Love Alchemy is about. So that's the test. It's going to tell you your personality, the type of person who's going to be best for you, what your romantic magic is, the best ways to meet people. It can help you with pickup lines, your dating profile, questions to ask on a date. So it really informs so many of the things that we need to know in order to go through the dating process successfully and really get to know our partners on that deeper energetic level, because that's the level of soulmates.
Okay. Have you trademarked this stuff? Did you trademark this? Because like I've been a matchmaker for 28 years. There are a number of compatibility tests. I really love that. I resonate with all of it. I'm writing it down. I'm reading the book. So what like, and clearly it's for straight people as well, right? Yeah. This is non-gender specific, correct?
It's all of us. It works for anybody. We're all people. We're all made of energy. And it will tell you your personality for sure.
I love that. Darla, have you used a personality traits test before? And is there one that you've liked or resonated with in terms of compatibility or determining who would be a good business partner or romantic partner?
I've used all of them. And actually, there was a point where I was obsessed about personality profiles. But my philosophy is that when we have an energy block, like we're afraid to see something about ourselves or own something about ourselves, it doesn't matter if we know our personality because our energy gets in the way. Yeah. So in other words, and for me, it was like I had a whole block of that I couldn't even see the possibility of dating women. But people might have a block about being the most successful person in a relationship or not being smart enough. And if we don't transform that, it doesn't matter if I'm an ENFP and I'm a generator and I'm a 2/6 and all of that. That said, my favorite profile I use with my clients is human design. So are you familiar with that, Carmelia?
I am not. I know Amari's like going, okay, I'm not with the program here. What is that?
I'm also obsessed with the personality stuff, so I feel you on that.
Yeah. Well, I wrote down all the notes about the match, so I'm going to go find your assessment. But human design is based on astrology and the I Ching and a lot of ancient sciences. And it basically tells you how you're designed to operate at your best. So we use it with clients so they know, are they someone who's more of a teacher or are they more of an alchemist, right? Like they work with the energy. Are they someone who is meant to work in big groups and gather a community and have maybe lower priced offerings for a lot of people? Or are they more designed to work intimately with people at a higher investment level? Like it shows all of these things. And usually people, and this comes back to this removing blocks, right? Usually when people see their design, it gives them permission to be who they are. And it's like, if I was always trained that I have to be a certain way, and then I see my chart and it's like, oh, that's why I'm always slower to make decisions than anybody else, or why I'm, the person who's always too much in a room, right? Well, it's right there in your design. You're supposed to be too much. Or, oh, I feel bad. I went to this party and I didn't say anything in the group. Well, that's your design. It's okay. You're not supposed to. So I love it. I'm obsessed.
Yeah. Interesting.
I'm not trained in it. I use it. I use other people's work and credit them, and it's amazing.
What's your design, Darla?
I'm a generator. I'm 6'2", and gut decision maker, which is life changing.
Yeah, I'm a manifester, 6'2". So.
Oh, I'm going to do my test and share it with you guys. I will do my test and share it with you guys. And before I do that, I want you to privately text me and guess what you think I am, because I've not taken the test, because you're both intuitive. Amari, I've met in person several times at several conferences. So it'll be fun to see if you're bang on to who I am. So I want to talk about something a little bit more personal for people that, because this is Pride Month, it's the month. We should be proud all the time of who we are and where we are and what our preferences are. But what advice would you give to someone who is coming out? And Darla, I think this is the perfect opportunity to now share your story and like what you had to go through. So. Would you like to lead with that then?
Yeah, sure. Really clear. Because I think the advice I would have is, it's not as bad as you might think. So that's my overall advice. But I came out, I was 39 and I had no idea. So I was already in business. I was running my business, teaching people alignment and how to be who you truly are in your business and speak with truth in your marketing and all of this stuff. And my business was doing super well. I had just relocated from the Midwest to Denver, Colorado, and I was in such abundance. I got this amazing house and I'm just like feeling really great. I'm working in my pajamas. I've got these clients. It's amazing. But every day at the end of the day, I would transfer from my office to the sofa and keep working, right? Because I just lived by myself and it was like, that was my day. And then one day I realized that was no longer working for me. And I started to get really curious about why I wasn't finding a relationship. It was like I could manifest clients and I could, move, on a moment's notice and do all these amazing things, but I wasn't finding love.
And Darla, you were married before to a man. Is that correct?
I was. Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So it was probably about 6 years after I got divorced. That I moved. So, and that's a whole other transformational story about how I made those choices. But so here I am single and I want a relationship. I had already worked with a relationship coach, you guys. I paid a relationship coach $5,000. We worked together for 3 months. And at the end of the 3 months, she said, "You don't want a relationship." And I was like, "But I do." But I knew she was right. You know, she was like, "I just don't think you're committed to this." And I knew that that was true. So here I am living by myself, running my business. Everything starts breaking in my life. Like a bunch of different pieces of jewelry broke, a light bulb exploded, I cracked a tooth, and I ran my car into a light pole, like outside of my driveway, just backed into the one that was there every day. And so I was like, okay, universe, what are you trying to tell me? And I didn't have such a tight relationship with the universe at the time. But I started to get really curious.
That's some obvious messaging though, like all those things happening at once. Oh
my!
Like,
hello, pay attention.
Yeah.
And so I went on retreat. I was actually a coach on a team for one of my mentors, and I was teaching and facilitating and holding space, and he was leading. And during the retreat, I just really started thinking about this, you know, everything breaking and what's coming up and what does this mean? And so I had asked him, I said, "Everything's breaking. What does that mean?" And my mentor had said, "That means you have suppressed anger." And I look back at it now and I was like, what am I angry about? You know, I was super angry, but couldn't see it. And so over dinner that night, he basically said to me, I was talking about, you know, creating retreats that were, you know, non-judgmental and amazing and all of this. And he's like, "What are you afraid to be judged for?" And I was like, I had no idea. I couldn't think of anything. And he literally said, we're across the table, a long table with the whole team. He said, "Ever since I've known you," and he kind of went like this, like, "there's always been something." He said, "You kind of have the energy of someone who's gay and doesn't know it." And I was like, and he said, "I'm not saying it's that, but it's something like that." And he got up and walked away. So here I am in my chair, and I'm like probably beet red, and I'm trying to think of anything else it could possibly be. Like, it can't be that. That's how bad that idea was to me. I thought, this is terrible. It has to be something else. And then over the course of the next few days, I overheard at least 3 conversations about someone coming out, someone being in the closet, someone not knowing they were in the closet. And I'd never had that happen before. I just sitting at it, you know, at an event, at a table, and the people next to me are talking about people coming out. And I was like, oh shit. Everybody's staring at me, like, do they know? Or they and I told you this, Carmelia, I flew home and I said a prayer on the plane. I said, okay, if this is real, I promise I will listen. And I got home and I'm unpacking my luggage and flipped on the TV, and Grey's Anatomy comes on. And Grey's Anatomy is an episode about a woman who's dying and has never come out to her son. And she has a life partner that she's never told him about.
Wow.
Like, seriously? And I knew it was for me. I knew it was for me. So I teach transformation and the way, you know, these things show up. And I was like, I have to give myself a new experience. I need to know, is this real? And within 4 days, I flew to LA and I went out in West Hollywood and kissed a girl and I liked it. And I literally had tears streaming down my face, and I'm sure she thought I was insane. I literally started sobbing. But it was like my body knew, my energy field knew, like, oh, yeah, this is it. This is what I've been missing. All these
Wow. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Amari, do you have you can share something personal or just a tip for someone who is at that space and is coming to that realization or already realizes and is wondering, you know, what the next step is for him or her?
Sure. So I can do both, and I can tell a short coming out story.
Sure.
I came out to my mom twice. Okay. The first time I was 12. All right.
Okay.
I knew at 12, and I go into my mom's room. I'm like, hey, Mom, I have something to tell you. And she goes, what? Me. I'm gay. My mom's response, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Me. Okay. And I left the room. And that was the end of the conversation.
You're 12. Okay. Do you have siblings? Do you have siblings?
I do. I'm the oldest of 7. Yeah.
Are you the only sibling that's gay? That you know of?
That we know of. Yes.
Okay, that you know of. Okay, got it. Okay.
So
okay.
Then at 14, my mom and I are going to the grocery store, and we play a lot. Like, my mom is pretty young. She had me when she was 15. So we kind of grew up as like brother and sister. We're really close.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah, it's the most adorable thing ever.
Aw.
So
I
we're
want to
going
meet
to the
her.
store, and I don't know who started this, but we will always just play like dumb games that would make us both laugh. And so I said, guess what? She says what? I say something stupid. She laughs. Then she says, guess what? I say what? She says something stupid. And then I laugh. And then I go, guess what? Her. What? Me. I'm bisexual. And so she laughed at first because it was the pattern of the game. And then she pulls into the grocery store parking space. And then she starts crying when it like actually sunk in what I was saying. And so it was probably like 20 seconds. Of course, I started crying too because it's my mom. And she was like, I kind of knew, but you're always going to be my baby. And so nothing will ever change that. And so we hugged and we get out of the car. She says, guess what? I say what? She says something stupid and we laugh. And like, that was my coming out story to my mom. There are lots of other coming out stories. I still come out all the time because that's just the nature of the world we live in, when people, either assume that you're straight or assume whatever they assume. So I'm always having to come out, which is pretty exhausting sometimes. But grateful that I had the experience with my mom where, I didn't feel outcast or ostracized. Now, I definitely planned for that. I packed a bag and everything because I thought that was going to happen. Because when I was 12, like, I didn't know anybody who was like gay in the media or didn't have any gay friends. Like, I hadn't told anybody other than my mom when I told my mom. And so when I was 14, then I told like a couple friends first to see how they would take it. Cause I kind of felt like, these are people who, if they decide they don't want to be in my life anymore, like, I'll be able to get over that. But like, my mom, so it was kind of like the litmus test for that. And so my tip for anyone who hasn't come out yet, right? Whether you are 12, 22, or 62, the first thing to recognize is the fact that you want to come out says so much about you, right? Because the only reason anyone isn't out, the only reason people don't come out is because we don't feel safe enough to tell the truth. Right? We don't feel safe. Like, literally, it feels like our lives and our livelihood is on the line. And that's true in a lot of places. So don't ever feel bad because you weren't out. Recognize that you were protecting yourself and nobody can ever fault you for that. But also recognize how much power, how much grace, how much, self esteem it takes for you to admit that to yourself and to say, this is something that I want to do. Like, that takes a lot of courage to do for anybody. So honor that about yourself. And then in terms of the process of coming out, however you want to come out, it's perfect. There is no right or wrong way to come out. If you want to write a letter, if you want to have a conversation, do a phone call, do a Facebook post, and tell the world at the same time. Your coming out story is yours. Like, no one else owns your narrative. So don't let someone tell you that there's a right or wrong way to do it. Do what feels most in alignment with who you are, because that is going to give you, the greatest sense of stability, control, and power. Because not being able to be yourself, not being able to own your identity and live that fully is essentially the removal of our power, right? Like, there's no different between not being able to be who you are in terms of your sexual orientation as it is about race or gender or anything else. Like, who you are is valuable, and you deserve a life where you can be your full self. So yeah, your process is your process.
I love all of that. Thank you both for sharing such powerful stories and really, tangible advice of how you do it, and the fact that you've just stated there is no right or wrong way. Whatever feels right for you, timely for you is the way that you do it, and that you have that supportive people. And I think too, you kind of not, I'm not sure if you braced yourself, like you had it that, okay, you're coming out, the bag is packed, you're standing for yourself, even if the recipient or the people you're telling aren't agreeing, you're doing what feels good for you, which is great. Leads me to my sort of a segue into my next question. And Darla, if you're able to participate, I would love that.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between or what are the differences between straight dating and gay dating? Because there are specifically gay matchmakers, and we have a mutual friend, Amari Tammy Shackley, who is a straight white woman who is a gay matchmaker, and so I've not taken on LGBT clients, and and I don't know if that's because I have a belief that there's a different way to coach or direct or match. So I would love to hear, starting with you, Amari, and of course, Darla, I know your dating experience was like super quick. I won't tell why. Yeah, but I'm sure you have now communicated to, or potentially have talked with other LGBT. You said some of your clients are lesbian, so whether or not they talk about dating dilemmas or whatever. Amari, can you speak to that, and specifically for gay male dating versus straight men who are looking for women?
Yeah, sure. So there are levels, right? There are nuances for all of this. So let's just put that up there. First of all, I'm going to make a generalization knowing that there are specific instances where this isn't necessarily true for everyone. Okay. So let's start there. On the whole, love is love, right? So personality wise, values, all the different compatibility components that I mentioned earlier are going to be true regardless of if you are straight, gay, or otherwise, right? But there are differences when it comes to gay dating versus straight dating. And also when we're talking about different cultural or ethnic specific situations to consider when you're matching people as well, whether straight or gay. So the biggest difference in gay and straight dating from a matchmaker's perspective is that as a matchmaker, so most of us, we will have our clientele is either men or women, meaning we charge the men and the women are essentially the product, right?
Sure.
Or we charge
or vice versa. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever the business model is, when you're just starting out, you're usually going to pick one, because if you are matching both, that requires you to do a lot of work to have enough people to send someone on a date with. And recruiting is it's a lot just for one sex, right?
Yeah.
So the difference, though, with gay and straight matchmaking is that it's all one sex, right? Generally, all one gender. But those differences look or show up in a different set of characteristics, right? So for a lot of gay people, sexual compatibility could be a thing. And not that it's not important in heterosexual relationships. But for gay men, a lot of people will stratify themselves based on being a top or a bottom or versatile or preferring outer course, whatever, right? So sometimes that can be a thing, but that's really more so you can consider it just like any other characteristic or trait. I don't want someone who smokes. I want someone who has kids, right? But the real difference is about the cultural implications. It's understanding the experiences of your clients in a way that creates safety, in a way that creates the opportunity for them to be open to the process and therefore open to love. So it's less that there are drastic differences between heterosexual and homosexual matchmaking. It's more so the emotional intelligence required, the cultural intelligence required. And if you have that sense of understanding and empathy, it can definitely work, provided you aren't trying to match everybody all at once as a just now starting matchmaker, because that's not going to work.
Okay.
So yeah, pick whatever your niche is. It's so much easier to work that niche, grow that niche, and then expand once you've, had a lot of successes in the thing that you do well. But Yeah, if you don't have the cultural competence, definitely get that first before
Sure.
you attempt to serve the clients, because that's going to be the thing that determines success or failure.
So yeah, and that's likely why, not that I've avoided, that I felt that I wasn't the most competent person to match when
Yeah.
I know that there are matchmakers that understand those nuances and the verbiage and the niche itself, right?
Yeah.
So Darla, any other than get on a dating app, meet the woman you're going to marry, and off you go? That never
Yeah.
happens.
Well, I do have a couple things that I've noticed. I have a
Yeah.
couple things that would be helpful from a female perspective, and also really understanding energy. Like, it's an energy match. And so, I had been on a lot of dating sites as a straight woman, dating men. I'd been on lots of dates. I'd done the whole process. It was before swiping. And I feel so old. Oh my gosh. And when I switched teams, so to speak, so it was a couple weeks after I realized, I put a profile up, and my now wife actually put hers up the same day. So, and she had never been on one before. She was kind of a resistant dater. So we met, she was my first date on the site, but I stayed on, and I connected with a lot of different people, because I was like, I haven't done this before. Like, I need to have a lot of experience before I settle down. So I had a little bit of experience, and making that change, women talk a lot more. So I was used to kind of chatting with men where it's like pretty concise and like, okay, should we get together or not? And women write books and stories, and they want to be understood. And it was like, whoa, okay, now I understand, like,
The male side.
yeah, and like maybe what men were looking for from me, but I'm the masculine in our relationship, even though I appear more feminine, and my wife appears much more masculine. She's been a bike mechanic, and she takes the trash out. I mean, these are stereotypes, right? I once mistook a 12-year-old boy for her in a store, like, I almost came up and gave him a hug. Like,
Oh my gosh.
Right. But I got to have that experience of like really, we had like 2-sentence exchanges, and then we met in person, and it was like very to the point. And she was so relieved that I was so easy to chat with, and we just knew. So I think, the thing that I think you can tell a lot from the type of communication, if you're going to be a match, like if you're looking for the same type of communication. And then the other thing, I've went to an event for queer women entrepreneurs, and they had these breakout groups, and they would kind of invent them on the fly. And one of them was, they called it the dating funnel, like, because it was a techie internet funnel, conference. And so they called it the dating funnel. So I went to the dating funnel breakout because I wanted to learn, like, what are they going to talk about? And what I realized is there was no, like, I haven't missed anything. There was no magic formula that they knew about how to date, how to tell if someone's gay, how to tell if they're, just because they're wearing lipstick, are they, like, nobody knows. So Amari, if you have, I think you're so valuable to be able to help ask those questions and screen people, because I was like, oh my God, thank God I'm not single, because it felt like the blind leading the blind in this conversation.
I'd love to learn more about what the recruitment process would look like, particularly from Amari. And as well, I've always thought about that as a straight matchmaker, thinking of, how do you identify with who's gay and who's not gay? Because there isn't a look per se, other than those who actually, the ones that you can identify, right? Well, sure. Or men who are the feminine type, and they're wearing the lipstick and the mannerisms and everything else. But many times I've seen and met very masculine gay men that I would have never thought in a million years. And same with extremely feminine women that you just make this assumption that they're not gay. I'd love to know where, for people who are single that are struggling, what would you do? What advice would you give? Where do you go to do to meet somebody, A, gay or LGBT, and B, like single?
Yeah. So first of all, you make a really great point that I want to like reflect back for people, right? We have this assumption that sexual orientation is stratified along gender expression lines, meaning if you're a masculine man, you have to be straight. If you're a feminine man, you have to be gay.
Correct.
But those two things have nothing to do with each other, like zero. Meaning, like I think personally, and I know a lot of gay men, I know way more masculine gay men than feminine gay men. Like that's a stereotype that all gay men are going to be feminine. And just like Darla said, the way it works best in a relationship is to have that balance of energy. One partner, regardless of their masculine or feminine appearance, is going to be more of the dominant or the masculine and energy person, and one is going to be more receptive and feminine in the energetic composition, which is different than how they express themselves. So in terms of where to go to meet people and how to know if someone is going to be gay, first of all, you don't, right? Unless you have a gaydar like I do. Like it is a thing. Gaydar is my gaydar works through paper, text, photos, video, and occasionally.
All right, like how much is it to hire you for a day just to like go out? And that's what your clients are paying you to do.
Exactly.
And you know, the funny thing is women want to know the gaydar because they get shut down by the cutest guy in the room because he's gay, right?
But the thing I have to admit though, I haven't cracked it for lesbians. It doesn't work the same way. And I think it's because like all of my professional experience, even before I started my company, I worked in LGBT empowerment for about a decade, specifically working with Black gay men in the community. So all the programs and companies I worked for targeted that demographic. So I think it's just because I have so much experience with the culture that my gaydar just recognizes, you know, certain things. But yeah, so the biggest tip in order to find someone, here's the thing you do. There are two versions of this, online versus offline.
Right.
In an offline situation, the easiest way to find love is to get involved in things you're interested in that other people will be doing too, right? It's so easy to meet someone living your life, doing the things you love to do, especially things you're passionate about. You're going to be most attractive, most fascinating when you are activating those passions. So find groups that are involved in whatever interest that is. If you're a chess player, go and find like some gay chess groups. I'm sure they exist somewhere, right? And that's the caveat. Find those groups, but see if there are gay groups specifically organized around those interests. Because then you don't have to worry about, am I hitting on someone who's not gay? Doesn't mean straight people don't go to these things, but you have more of a chance running into a gay person at a gay function, right?
Right. Okay.
So do things you're interested in groups to meet new people. Online, you're going to want to go to dating apps that are, first of all, specifically geared toward dating. Because there are some apps that are just hookup apps or mostly hookup apps. If you go into a hookup app looking for love, it's not impossible, but you're going to run into more people who don't want that. And so it's going to seem like, and this happens for a lot of people, people get the impression that gay men are more promiscuous or more polyamorous or whatever because they're going on hookup apps. Like, if you go on a straight hookup app, do you think all straight people are promiscuous or looking for hookups? No, because you know that the other thing exists. But if you only go to that space, then you tend to have that impression, right?
Mm-hmm.
What is it called? I forget the type of reasoning, inductive reasoning. So I had this experience in one place, so all places must be like this. But in reality, if you go to an app or a site that's more geared toward relationships, and you know the difference, because if you're in an app and the advertisements are for rings, wedding rings and flowers and honeymoons, that's a dating app. If you're seeing advertisements for porn, you're on a hookup app, right?
Yeah.
So you have to, if you want to get wet, go where the water is, right? Go stand in the river of people who are actually interested in relationships, and you're more likely going to run into someone who's looking for love. So that's the suggestion. Go to an app or a site that is specifically focused on relationships, and of course set your filter so that it shows you your preferred gender or sex. So yeah,
that's good. I wanted to know, of course, for if there are groups that do cater to. You went to a queer entrepreneur group. Is that what you had mentioned before, Darla? Is that correct?
Yeah. It's called Queer Hustle, and they have you can find it online. There's a Facebook group. And I met my wife on OkCupid, which I'm assuming it's still there. I haven't been there in a while.
It is. Yeah, it is still there. So a lot of the mainstream sites allow you to choose your preference type. I think Facebook dating has 57 gender preference types. So they've covered a lot. I was going to say, if you're brave,
go sign on and just see I learned so much being on OkCupid about the different arrangements people have and the different things they're looking for. And people are really specific, like in the profiles, they know what they're looking for. And so you would learn a lot just from searching around and looking at that.
Yeah. And that's what I was recently in a media, was asked to speak in media about racial discrimination or dating discrimination. And in particular, it spoke about, a gay dating app where the men would just write on what their partner and sexual preferences were that were really discriminatory, right? Is that now, again, to your point, Amari, everyone has different partner preferences and sexual preferences. Do you feel that gay men are pickier than straight men, or is it just the individual? Is that just a myth or stereotype that we think certain people are pickier? It's just depending on who you are, you're just picky.
I think it really depends on the culture of the location. So for example, in California, the culture is going to be much more focused on appearance because most people work in the industry where appearance is important, right?
Okay.
If you go to somewhere like in the middle of Mississippi, it's not as important, right? And so it's really about the wider cultural mores of the area you're in that's going to determine what people tend to talk about when they run into you on an elevator, right? So it's not that gay men are pickier specifically, but those cultural aspects definitely play a large part. On the other hand, here's the thing that a lot of us don't always recognize, right? To grow up gay is to grow up in a world where you already know that most people in your experience, at least like before recent times, most people aren't necessarily going to agree with your lifestyle. And I put that in quotations because it's like saying, I don't agree that you're Black. Like, it's not a lifestyle, it's a person's life, like totally different situations. But if you grew up in an environment where it isn't safe to be who you are, where as a kid, right, because most of us recognize that we're gay or different as kids, and then you learn that it's not safe for me to be myself at home. But the one thing that all kids want is love, attention, and validation. So I'm going to do whatever it takes to get that. And if I know already that my parent isn't going to accept this part of me, then I have to overcompensate in other ways so that I can still get that validation from them. And so many gay men and women are going to be hella achievement oriented because they don't feel like they're going to be valued just for being themselves. So lots of us are going to be really high achievers because we feel like that is the only way we can be affirmed in our lives. And so that can translate to relationships because now when you look for a partner, you want someone who also has a similar set of achievements or whatever, because that achievement orientation is essentially currency. That's the thing you've learned makes you valuable. And so then you tend to look at other people through that same lens. But that is specifically if you had that experience growing up. So,
It's interesting you say that because I actually don't know any. I literally don't know any unsuccessful gay, not in my circle. Like, look at the two of you. You're both entrepreneurs. You're both doing extremely well in business, and I assume the people you surround yourself with too are also high achievers, and that's important.
mhm.
On that note, we have highs and lows. What advice, this is for whether you're gay or straight, what advice would you give to a business owner or a single person who's just feeling down? Either, they're just tired of the dating scene, or they're in this pandemic and things aren't working out the way they want them to, and they're just in that slump. We've got about 5 minutes left. Any tips that you could give or like to share with someone that's in this like kind of COVID depression, so to speak?
Yeah, for sure. One is for sure to take the Love Alchemy personality test so that you
I'm
can
doing it. I
get
am
clear
doing
on
it.
what you want to mean. The
Yeah.
second thing, and this is going to be great for everybody to hear, we are most likely to find love when we are in a period of transition. Okay. What does transition mean? Transition means you just started a new job. You just lost a job. You just had someone pass away in your family. Someone was just born, right? You just graduated from college. You just started school. Like any of those things are transition. You just got out of a relationship, right? All those things are transition. You're in a pandemic and everything's locked down, right?
Yeah.
You're most likely to find love in a period of transition. Because when we are in our comfort zones, all of the beliefs and self-sabotaging patterns that kept love away from us in the first place, right, are in operation. They are operating very strongly when we are in our comfort zone. But the moment we are outside of our comfort zones, those patterns aren't useful anymore. And so we have to be open to seeing things in different ways that aren't necessarily perpetuated by our previous patterns. And because we're open, guess what shows up? Love. Love only shows up when you've created space for it, when you are open to receiving it. It can't show up any other way. So getting out of your comfort zone by doing something new, whether that's something simple like taking new dance classes or something huge like a quarantine, right? That transition is going to open you up to love. So take those steps outside of your comfort zone. And for many people, that looks like working with a coach or a matchmaker. Because for so many of us, that's something we've never done before. Remember, we've invested all this money, time, and energy into our professional skills, but we haven't done the same thing in our relationship skills. So if you do that thing, that also creates that openness that love requires.
Well, only if they want a 300% improvement in their love life. Otherwise, I think you should just do what you're doing.
If you don't want love, definitely don't work with a relationship coach.
Oh, yes. Darla.
I have to agree around getting support. First of all, I can't imagine going through that process I went through without support, but I can't imagine navigating, the energies today without support. And I would add specifically, pay attention to the energy, because if you're out, on Facebook, where probably a lot of people are right now, but the energy is very intense there, the way people are commenting back and forth. And it's a lot. If you can take yourself out of that and tune in to your own energy and feel what's true for you, you'll be guided in the right direction. But most people aren't aware of it, how much we're being impacted by all of the information that's out there. And to Amari's point, when you're in your old patterns, all you're going to see is the energy that matches what you already believe about yourself. Right? So you'll happen to see the posts, you'll go on right when the post that triggers your fear about the pandemic flies by, right? Because you haven't done that work to let go of those old beliefs. So get support from someone who can help you see the energy and how you're actually drawing in the things that you're afraid of instead of the things that you're really wanting to cultivate.
Thank you. That's amazing. Amari, you have so many fans. We've had people, I don't know if you can see them coming in and out. Darla, I'm going to bring you right back. I'm going to say goodbye to Amari and then I'm going to bring you right back. Okay. Hang tight. All right, Amari, thank you so much for being here. Please tell everybody, where can they find you? What's next? What's happening for you? And yeah, how do people get in touch if they'd love more of this, of all of what you got to offer?
Yeah, so you can find me on Instagram at Prince Amari, which I think is right here under the
Yep.
video. So find me on Instagram at Prince Amari, and take the Love Alchemy personality test. Like I said, it's at the link in my bio actually on Instagram. Like that is the best thing to do. My second book is about to come out. So my first book, international bestseller, is already out. You can find it in all major bookstores, Amazon, other things.
What's it called? What's the title?
Lasting Love at Last, the gay guide to attracting the relationship of your dreams. And the second book is called Love Alchemy, how to transform your love blocks into relationship gold. So come find me on Instagram. I
can't wait till that comes out.
Yes.
And we'll have you back. Thank you, my dear. I will see you at the next conference when the world opens up. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. There you are. Now, Darla, you're under Prince Amari, and her Instagram handle is actually under my name. It's Darla LeDoux. Tell everyone where they can find you and what you're up to next.
Yeah, my website is sourcedexperience.com, and it just launched. And I also have my second book launching. So if you go to my website, you'll actually see, or you do /book, you'll see the book. You can pre-order it. And I have a live coaching group right now, which I created in quarantine to support people as they're navigating the energies of what's going on. So if you go to /book, you can pre-order the book and you get this coaching group complimentary. And it's
amazing.
An amazing conversation and a way to look at the energy, how it's showing up for you, how to transform it, how to work with it and create the results you want.
Well, thank you so much for being here. And to all of you viewers, thank you for tuning into Lockdown Love. This was loaded with so many tips for you. We are proud, and this is for Pride Month as well. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
All righty.